lost our hydraulics and feels like our pitch control.
A plane screams down the runway, packed with passengers, ready to soar. Then disaster hits. Engines die, controls fail, and panic erupts. This video uncovers shocking takeoff crashes caught on camera, from total wrecks to miracle landings. Some survive, others don't. The last story will blow your mind. Stick around for the jaw-dropping truth. Japan Airlines Flight 123. August 12, 1985. A Boeing 747 SR, carrying 524 people, lifts off from Tokyo's Haneda Airport, bound for Osaka. Just 12 minutes later, a deafening boom shakes the cabin. The rear pressure bulkhead, weakened by a faulty 1978 repair after a tail strike, rips apart. Air rushes out, tearing off the tail fin and severing all hydraulic lines. The plane, JA-8119, becomes a 200-ton beast no one can steer. Captain Masami Takahama, with 12,123 flight hours, fights to control it, using engine thrust to battle wild swings. For 32 agonizing minutes, the jet lurches through the sky, climbing and diving in chaotic loops. Passengers scribble farewell notes as the plane veers toward Mount Takamagahara. At 6:56 p.m., it slams into a ridge at 391 miles per hour, erupting in flames. Only 4 women survive, found in the wreckage's last 7 rows. The crash killed 520, making it the deadliest single-plane disaster ever. Japan's investigation pins the blame on Boeing's shoddy repair, sparking global maintenance reforms. A photo from the ground shows the tailless jet in its final moments. JAL paid $7.6 million to victims' families and opened a safety promotion center in 2006 to honor the tragedy. Survivors' cries haunted the night, unheard for 12 hours due to delayed rescue efforts. But another disaster waits, where a pilot's mistake sparks chaos in New York's skies. Keep watching to uncover its shocking truth.
American Airlines Flight 587 crashed in the Rockaways.
American Airlines 587, November 12, 2001. American Airlines Flight 587, an Airbus A300, takes off from JFK Airport in New York, heading to Santo Domingo with 260 souls on board. 2 minutes into the climb, the plane hits violent turbulence from a Japan Airlines 747 that departed moments earlier. First Officer Sten Moline, at the controls, jerks the rudder hard to stabilize. The move is too much. The vertical stabilizer, critical for steering, snaps off completely. Engines tear from the wings as the jet spirals wildly. At 9:16 a.m., it smashes into a Queens neighborhood, just 5 miles from ground zero. Flames engulf homes, killing all 260 on board and 5 on the ground. A shocking amateur video captures the plane's fiery plunge. The NTSB later blames Moline's aggressive rudder inputs, ruling out terrorism despite early fears post-9/11. The crash prompts Airbus to revise pilot training, stressing rudder limits. A memorial now stands in Rockaway Park, honoring the 265 lives lost. This disaster, the second deadliest on U.S. soil, hit a city still reeling from September 11th. Next, a jet explodes midair, leaving no survivors and a mystery that grips the world. Stay tuned for the chilling details.
That TWA Flight 800 exploded in midair off the south shore of Long Island, New York.
Midair explosion of TWA Flight 800, July 17, 1996. TWA Flight 800, a Boeing 747, climbs out of JFK Airport, New York, bound for Paris with 230 people on board. At 8:31 p.m., just 12 minutes after takeoff, a massive blast rips through the center wing fuel tank. The jet N93199 breaks apart at 13,700 feet, raining debris into the Atlantic Ocean off Long Island. All 230 souls perish instantly. Eyewitnesses report a fireball lighting up the night sky, captured in grainy news footage. The NTSB launches a 4-year probe, recovering 95% of the wreckage. They pinpoint a short circuit igniting fuel vapors, though the exact spark remains unknown. Conspiracy theories, missiles, bombs, swirl, but evidence points to mechanical failure. The tragedy, costing 230 lives, leads to new fuel tank safety rules, mandating inert gas systems. Divers retrieve haunting images of twisted seats and personal items scattered on the ocean floor. Families mourn at a Smith Point memorial built in 2000. This disaster reshapes aviation safety, but questions linger. Now, a shattered window and a desperate fight for survival await. Keep watching to discover a pilot's heroic stand against chaos.
On a Southwest Airlines 737 in April, one passenger was killed after nearly being pulled out a window.
Southwest Airlines Flight 1380, April 17, 2018. Southwest Flight 1380, a Boeing 737, rockets off LaGuardia's runway in New York, bound for Dallas with 149 on board. 20 minutes in at 32,000 feet, a loud bang jolts the cabin. The left engine's fan blade, cracked from wear, shatters, spraying shrapnel. A window explodes, pulling passenger Jennifer Riordan halfway out. Screams fill the air as passengers yank her back, but she doesn't survive. Captain Tammy Jo Schultz, with Navy pilot grit, grabs the controls. She dives the jet, ending 772SW to safer air, landing it in Philadelphia by 11:20 a.m. Passenger videos show oxygen masks dangling, fear etched on faces. The NTSB later finds a missed engine flaw during checks caused the blast. Riordan's death, Southwest's first fatality in 47 years, shakes the airline. Schultz's calm saves 148 lives, earning her hero status. New inspection rules hit the industry hard after this. Next, a tiny maintenance slip turns a cargo flight into a fireball. Keep watching to see how one bolt changed everything. Emery Worldwide Airlines tragedy. February 16, 2000. A McDonnell Douglas DC-8 cargo plane, N8079U, roars off Sacramento's Mather Airfield, carrying 3 crew members. Seconds after takeoff, the nose pitches wildly. Captain Kevin Stuber, First Officer Bradford Pierce, and Flight Engineer Russell Hicks radio a desperate plea. They can't control the plane. A loose elevator control tab, ignored during maintenance, jams the controls. At 4:35 p.m., the jet slams into a car salvage yard, bursting into flames. All 3 perish. Wreckage footage shows twisted metal scattered across the lot. The NTSB traces the cause to a single unchecked bolt, a maintenance oversight that cost lives. The crash, Emery's worst, prompts stricter cargo plane inspections. Only 45 seconds passed from takeoff to impact, a stark reminder of how fast disaster strikes. The crew's final words echo in the black box, haunting investigators. Next, a cargo jet fights to stay aloft, but a fatal error sends it crashing. Watch to see what went wrong in Colombia's skies. The catastrophic crash of Aerosucre. December 20, 2016. A Boeing 727, loaded with 20,000 pounds of cargo, revs up at Puerto Carreño's tiny airport in Colombia, aiming for Bogotá. At 5:23 p.m., the jet with 6 crew lurches forward. The runway, too short for its size, ends abruptly. The plane smashes through a fence, skims over shocked onlookers filming below, and loses its number 3 engine. Hydraulic systems fail, landing gear buckles. For 2 minutes, pilots battle to climb, but the jet clips a tree, rolls right, and crashes hard into the ground, exploding on impact. All 6 die. Video from bystanders captures the low, wobbling flight. Colombia's aviation authority blames Aerosucre's cost-cutting, setting takeoff speeds too low, and pilot errors in procedure. The 5-knot speed miscalculations sealed their fate. This crash, one of Aerosucre's deadliest, exposes risks of small runways. Now, a navigation glitch turns a routine flight into a deadly spiral. Stay tuned to uncover the chaos that struck in London. Korean Air Cargo Flight 8509, December 22, 1999. A Boeing 747 cargo plane, HL7451, takes off from London Stansted Airport at 6:36 p.m., bound for Milan with 4 crew members. Captain Park Duk-kyu, a seasoned ex-Air Force colonel with 13,490 flight hours, notices his attitude indicator showing no bank during a left turn. It's faulty, a problem from Tashkent not fixed properly. The flight engineer shouts, "Bank," multiple times, but Park ignores the warnings. The first officer, with only 195 hours on 747s, stays silent. In 55 seconds, the jet rolls to a 90-degree left bank, diving at 300 knots into Hatfield Forest, Essex. All 4 die in a fiery crash, captured in chilling night footage. The plane, built in 1980 with 83,011 hours, carried printer cartridges. The UK's AAIB blames the captain's reliance on a broken instrument and poor crew communication tied to Korean Air's rigid hierarchy. Training reforms followed, stressing teamwork. Next, a snowy runway hides a deadly mistake that no one saw coming. Keep watching to unravel this chilling Canadian tragedy. Air Ontario Flight 1363, March 10, 1989. A Fokker F-28, carrying 69 people, sits at Dryden Regional Airport in Ontario, Canada, waiting for takeoff to Winnipeg. Snow falls steadily, piling up on the wings. Captain George Morwood, with 24,120 flight hours, and First Officer Keith Mills decide to skip de-icing despite delays from earlier flights. At 12:09 p.m., the jet Sifonf surges down the runway. Ice clings to the wings, disrupting airflow. The plane struggles, barely lifting off, and climbs only 50 feet. It slams into trees 3,000 feet past the runway, bursting into flames. Passengers scream as fire spreads fast. 24 die, including 2 crew. 45 survive, many with burns and broken bones. Rescuers pull people from the wreckage, captured in raw news footage. Canada's Aviation Safety Board points to the crew's decision to bypass de-icing, a step costing just 20 minutes. The Fokker, built in 1970 with 28,149 hours, was sound, but airline scheduling pressures and lax oversight played a role. New de-icing rules and stricter winter protocols followed. A survivor's diary, found later, described the terror of those final seconds. Dryden's small runway, just 6,000 feet, couldn't hide the human error that cost lives. But next, a stormy night leads to a fatal runway mix-up. Stay tuned for a tragedy that shocked the world. If you're gripped by these plane crash stories so far, hit that like button and drop a comment with your thoughts. Don't miss the rest. Stay tuned for more heart-pounding tales from the skies. Singapore Airlines Flight 006. October 31, 2000. A Boeing 747-9V SPK prepares to leave Taipei's Chiang Kai-shek Airport for Los Angeles, carrying 179 people. Typhoon Zhangsan batters the tarmac with heavy rain and 60-knot gusts. Captain Fung Chi Kong, with 11,135 flight hours, lines up for takeoff at 11:15 p.m. But he's on runway ZO5R, closed for construction, not the active O5L. No one double-checks. As the jet, loaded with 405,000 pounds, accelerates, it hits concrete barriers and excavators. The plane breaks apart, fuel igniting in a massive fireball. Black box data shows the crew had 3 seconds to react. 83 die, including 79 passengers, 96 survive, many with severe burns. Grainy airport footage captures the glowing wreckage. Taiwan's ASC finds the crew missed taxiway signs in the storm, with dim runway lights and poor markings adding to the confusion. The 747, built in 1997 with 18,000 hours, was sound, but human error was fatal. Singapore Airlines retrained pilots on runway checks, and Taiwan revamped airport signage. A passenger's camcorder, recovered later, showed the chaos inside as flames spread. Now, a single engine failure triggers a desperate fight to land. Keep watching to see how pilots turn disaster into a miracle. United Airlines Flight 232, July 19, 1989. A McDonnell Douglas DC-10 N1919U lifts off from Denver, heading to Chicago with 296 people on board. At 3:16 p.m., cruising at 37,000 feet, the tail engine explodes. A fan disc, cracked from wear, shatters, slicing all 3 hydraulic lines. Captain Alfred Haynes, with 29,775 flight hours, faces a nightmare. No steering, no flaps, no brakes. Using only engine thrust, he and First Officer William Records tilt the jet towards Sioux City, Iowa. Flight engineer Dudley Dvorak tweaks power to keep it airborne. For 44 minutes, the plane sways wildly, dropping 1,500 feet every minute. At 4:00 p.m., it hits Sioux Gateway Airport's runway 22, cartwheeling in a fiery crash. The DC-10, built in 1971 with 43,101 hours, splits apart. 111 die, 185 survive, many crawling from burning wreckage. Survivor videos show smoke and chaos. The NTSB blames a missed manufacturing flaw in the engine, leading to stricter titanium inspections. Haynes' skill, honed by Air Force training, saves nearly 2/3 of those on board. A passenger's letter, found later, thanks the crew for trying. The crash reshapes emergency training worldwide. Next, a cargo plane's deadly load shifts, plunging it to Earth. Watch to uncover the chilling mistake caught on camera. National Airlines Flight Plummets, April 29, 2013. A Boeing 747-400 N949CA roars off Bagram Airfield in Afghanistan, carrying 5 massive MRAP vehicles for Dubai. Seconds after takeoff, at 1:22 p.m. local time, the jet pitches up sharply. Captain Brad Hassler, with 6,000 flight hours, fights the controls. An 18-ton Cougar, improperly strapped, breaks free, rolling back. It smashes the rear bulkhead, wrecking hydraulic systems and the stabilizer jack screw. The plane, built in 1993 with 72,728 hours, stalls at 1,100 feet and plunges into the ground, exploding in a fireball. Dashcam footage captures the jet's steep climb and crash, killing all 7 crew. The NTSB finds National Airlines lacks cargo restraint rules at fault, with the loadmaster's errors sealing the fate. Earlier, a broken strap was noted at Camp Bastion, but ignored. This crash, one of 2013's deadliest, sparks new cargo training mandates. Wreckage photos show scattered military gear. Next, a sleek jet meets a fiery end after a tiny piece of debris changes history. Watch to discover how one tire sparked a tragedy. Air France Flight 4592, July 25, 2000. A Concorde FBTSC powers down the runway at Paris's Charles de Gaulle Airport, carrying 109 people to New York. Captain Christian Marty, with 13,477 hours, hits a metal strip dropped by a prior Continental Airlines DC-10. The tire bursts, firing rubber into the wing. Fuel leaks, igniting a massive fire. The plane, built in 1975 with 11,989 hours, lifts off briefly but can't climb. 2 minutes later, it crashes into a hotel in Gonesse, killing all 109 on board and 4 on the ground. Amateur video shows a flaming jet struggling to stay aloft. France's BEA finds the debris caused a chain reaction, exposing runway inspection lapses. The Concorde, a supersonic marvel, sees its fleet grounded. Commercial flights end in 2003. A survivor's photo, taken moments before, captures smiling passengers unaware of doom. New tire designs and fuel tank liners follow. Next, a storm's sudden fury brings a jet down in Texas. Keep watching to see how nature outmatched even skilled pilots. Delta Airlines Flight 191, August 2, 1985. A Lockheed L-1011 N726DA descends toward Dallas-Fort Worth Airport, carrying 163 people from Fort Lauderdale. At 6:05 p.m., Captain Edward Connors, with 27,000 flight hours, hits a violent microburst, a sudden downdraft from a thunderstorm. Winds slam the jet, built in 1973 with 39,171 hours, downward at 800 feet per minute. First Officer Rudolph Price calls out sinking airspeed, but it's too late. The plane smashes a mile short of runway 17L, bounces, and hits a water tank, erupting in flames. 137 die, including 1 driver on the ground, 27 survive, many with severe injuries. News footage shows the burning wreckage scattered across a field. The NTSB confirms the microburst, undetected by 1985 radar, caused the crash. Delta retrains pilots on weather avoidance, and new Doppler radar systems roll out nationwide. A passenger's recovered watch, stopped at 6:06 p.m., marks the tragedy's moment. Next, a faulty switch turns a routine takeoff into a deadly plunge. Stay tuned to uncover the chaos that struck Sao Paulo. TAM Airlines Flight 402, crash October 31, 1996. A Fokker 100 PT-MRK takes off from Sao Paulo's Congonhas Airport at 8:27 a.m., bound for Rio de Janeiro with 95 people. Seconds after liftoff, the right engine's thrust reverser, meant for landing, suddenly deploys. Captain Jose Moreno, with 9,000 flight hours, feels the jet lurch right. First Officer Ricardo Gomes, pushing the throttle, fights a system trying to cut power. A faulty microswitch, missed in maintenance, causes the chaos. The plane, built in 1993 with 8,000 hours, rolls sharply at 50 feet. At 8:27:25, it smashes into a building, then a neighborhood, killing all 95 on board and 4 on the ground. Security footage shows the fiery impact. Brazil's Xenepa finds no crew training for reverser failures, as Fokker deemed it unlikely. New cockpit warnings and training follow. A resident's photo captures the wreckage-strewn street. Lastly, a sunny day in Spain hides a fatal oversight that dooms a jet. Keep watching to see how a small error sparked a massive tragedy. Spanair flight crash, August 20, 2008. A McDonnell Douglas MD-82 ECHFP revs up at Madrid-Barajas Airport, carrying 172 people to Gran Canaria. At 2:24 p.m., Captain Antonio Luna, with 8,423 flight hours, pushes for takeoff. The jet barely lifts, wobbling low. Flaps and slats, vital for lift, aren't extended, a checklist error. A warning system meant to alert the crew fails silently. First Officer Francisco Muley, with Sheldon 200 hours, misses the mistake. The plane, built in 1993 with 31,000 hours, veers right, skids off the runway, and slams into a ravine, bursting into flames. 154 die, 18 survive with severe burns. Runway camera footage captures the jet's struggle and fiery crash. Spain's CIAC pins the cause on crew oversight and a faulty alarm disabled by prior maintenance. Spanair retrains pilots and new checklist protocols emerge. A passenger's cell phone video, recovered later, shows the cabin's final seconds of panic. The tragedy, Spain's worst in 25 years, leaves a memorial at the airport. We've reached the end of this gripping video. Like and subscribe for more thrilling content. Found it intense? Comment your thoughts below and share your favorite moment.